Hello everyone, and this is my 75-gallon Blue Dream shrimp tank, and it's the last Neocaridina shrimp tank I have set up. And I've tried lots of new things in this tank to show you. I've experimented with certain things, and sometimes when you try new things or different things than what you usually do, it takes a while for the tank to get going. And so now, after about 5 months of being up and running, this tank is finally starting to do good. And just look at all these baby shrimp. So I think my main problem was we've gone through all kinds of things. I used this tank as an example to show you guys. And back when we was having troubles getting the stem plants to grow, when we had moss all over the whole tank, I showed you guys how to do a moss carpet. We was having troubles getting the stem plants to grow because there's so much moss. So I tried fertilizing, and that definitely stunted the shrimp population growth. Now, that's why I always say you really don't want to do it with shrimp, because every time I've done it, it slowed things down. I never really saw dead shrimp, but I definitely saw breeding slow down. I showed you guys how I do the moss carpet with moss plugs, and we ripped all that out, but there's still a few hairs that were stuck in the substrate, and that's what this moss is. So we're going to try to rip that out. We're going to give this a good trim. If you remember, I put rocks in here as a border, and I said we'll come back through, and that'll give us markings, a landmark, to keep everything trimmed up so we can keep it looking relatively the same with a little bit of work. I did trim the mermaid weed, all the stems that were growing up and curling up at the top of the water. I got rid of all of those. This guy, he just got added in here like an hour ago. Little male super red bristlenose pleco, because I'm sick of scraping the front glass. I thought, all right, this tank is finally happy. I like to put plecos in my shrimp tanks, in my Neo shrimp tanks. And so let's just look at them. And there's all kinds of buried ones in here. There's lots of super really good ones. But there are some in here that aren't that good. And so after we get done doing all the trimming, and look at that. Look at what we get. It looks so good. I trimmed off some of that too, because some of it was up at the surface. So we're gonna work on this aquascaping. And this tank has served. I was inspired when I did this. And so this tank has been an inspiration because I really liked how it looks. So I started doing similar things to my other tanks. And so this will be a good gauge to see how big of a pain in the butt this moss is going to be to trim with these rock edges and borders. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention about this tank. This tank also went through like a month of complete green water. I showed you guys that. And this tank even has a UV sterilizer on the spray bar. If you go back a few videos, you'll see how I did that. And you can see just how good it works. It went from completely green to not green at all. All right, so let's get busy on this tank now. So when I set this tank up, I showed you guys how to do moss carpets by taking little tiny pieces of moss and plucking them into the substrate. Well, there's a few of them. I pulled all that out, but a few of them did not get pulled out all the way. And you can see there's a few hairs of moss that had grown up from practically nothing that I didn't even see. So we're going to try to pull these out so we can keep this clear like I had planned. See how hard it is to keep all these little baby shrimp out of here. That's going to be the hardest challenge of doing this today, because there might be thousands of little tiny baby Blue Dream shrimp. Yeah, there's little tiny ones in here that I don't want to get. Okay. In case we do get any shrimp, we have a bucket full of water here. All it takes is one little hair of moss and it will grow back. So for this first part, for the big cutting parts, I am going to use my big pair of scissors. All right, so let's hope we can get most of this without making too big of a mess here. Well, that wasn't the most easiest thing, but what I ended up doing is cutting the front and plucking out the stuff growing up on front of the rocks, and then picking out the hardest part is picking out all the little moss strands that are growing and attaching themselves to the mermaid weed. Now, and then on the other side, the Ludwigia. But I'm pretty happy that looks, and then we'll have some more cleaning up to do after we get done tackling this side. That'll be next. This side will be even worse. This will be way harder, but let's see what we do. Well, and here we are. We got the tank looking pretty good. And when I first put this Ludwigi over here, I put it over here to cover up the filter and all that. And we've reached that point pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I think it looks pretty good. And look at all this moss, even though I took out whole bunches of moss in this tank and didn't leave that much last time. Look how much of this we still pulled out of here. Just from mainly there. That's pretty wild. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is pull out shrimp. There are tons and tons of really good ones in here. And lots of buried ones. But I've been, it's in my bedroom. I lay in bed and watch this tank at night a lot. And there's a fair share of, there's not that many bad ones, but there's some really, really bad ones. I'm not seeing any right now, but even with all these babies, we've got tons and tons of buried females. So this tank, there's a really, really bad one right there. Some kind of clear, really looking, I don't know. So we're going to try to get all the bad ones out. And to do that, I'm going to use the algae wafer trick. We're going to put an algae wafer right here. We got all this open space. I designed this tank, so all this open space now that we can deal with the shrimp. So we're going to bait them all out in the open, and we're going to catch out the bad ones. So now you can see, after we got some gathered up here, there really aren't that many bad ones, but there are some real bad ones. So I'm not complaining too hard about it. Here's another one that's real. There's like two there and there. Like even my blue velvets that are my blue dream coals don't have shrimp in there like that. That's so bizarre. And these are shrimp from my 40 gallon. So it's so weird. Like the vast majority of these shrimp are really good. Like there must have been one in that. Where'd that god dang shrimp go? Oh my god, swimming all the way over to the back corner of the tank. Alright. I know I saw some more clear ones in here. It's probably on the camera and you guys are like, you dummy, it's right there. Are you blind? Like, well, you are zoomed in with a 4K Ultra 60 frames per second. This one's kind of really looking. Come here, man. Oh, I was just sitting here looking at like 5 of them, and now I scared them all around, and they're dissipating. Looks like one of them dragged. Oh, there's one right there. Another really bad male zooming around. Like, I don't know. I'll zoom in on like this shrimp right here. This whole group over here by the net is amazing. Holy smokes. Yeah, here's a couple not completely awesome ones. Those are pretty borderline to be culls, but I guess since we're here, let me guess the other one swam off when I caught his buddy. Here's a really little one that I can tell is not so hot. If I can get in the net. Yeah, he jumped right up in there for me. Thank you, sir. They're having a little orgy right here. Hey guys, go get a room. Look at this. Go get a room. I'm trying to work here. Good grief. This is a family program. Here's one. Here's one. Oh, come here. Come here. All right, there we are. There's a buried one that ain't any good. It's kind of really looking. See if I can get that on camera. Yeah, it's not real. It's just really dark head, kind of a lighter body. Not a horrible shrimp. That's actually pretty. It's not horrible. But we're going to go ahead and pull it. This one right here, kind of come here. You're not so hot. You're kind of off a little bit. You see what I'm talking about there? Not the best. We'll pull her. Not solid continuous coloration. So the hue of the blue is not the end all be all. I saw a bad one over here. Starting to join that little club. Look at this guy. Oh my God. And I didn't get him. Let's see if I can show you guys this one without losing it. That one's really bad. This one's really kind of weird looking. It's a huge old buried one too. I don't know what's going on here. It's not a spectacular shrimp. It's a huge old buried one though. It missed the last round of calling. I guess it was kind of borderline. All right. Oh, I see it. What the heck is this thing right here? This one's bizarre, and it's a monster. Oh man. Then maybe this is the reason why I got all these. Most of them are good, but we got some oddball ones. We got this great big. Oh my God! Don't you dare escape! Look at that thing. What the heck? Man, that is a big one. There's still, let's see if I move this. There's still tons of little shrimpies all in the mermaid weed. There's dozens and dozens. What I see that's not awesome. Yeah, this one's a little bit of an oddball. Right here. Oh, where'd you go? That one right here, I do believe. See how he's kind of irregular on his coloring? That's getting pretty picky. Just a quick look at the ones I pulled out. I'm sure, like I said, there's some And those ones like there, I'd see them laying in bed like, oh man, I gotta get you. Those are eating me up. I got them all. I think. I think. All right, and there you have it. We got a lot of calling done. We got it tidied up. I'm digging this tank. I'm really loving that Ludwig. Whew. The mermaid weed's doing good. Shrimp are in a lot better shape. Yeah, they're already in pretty good shape, but they're better now. Look at all the good ones. Whew. All right, there you have it. Nice little update, and hopefully you guys learn from my experiences, good and bad. Learn from what I do wrong, and maybe pick up some tips from what I know from what I'm doing right. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.